What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video from Mr. Gray's Talk Room. I'm your host, Christian Gray. Today, we're going to be talking about dating with a disorder. But before we begin, I want to talk about some of the episodes that have gotten the most traction. So I'm going to go into my YouTube a little bit here and see which ones it was. So it looks like what you guys preferred in terms of the content that I deliver, it was my recent episode, Unveiling the Battle, Toxic Baby Mama Drama versus a Six-Figure Man. And I did that with one of my very good close friends. His name is Jacob Bynum. I'll go ahead and put his Snapchat and his Instagram handle in the comments of the description because he's allowed me to do that. So if you're a very beautiful woman and you want a traditional man and you live in the DFW area, by all means hit him up. I can personally vouch for him, which says a lot because I don't vouch for a lot of people. And then the other one that got a lot of traction was Dating in 2023, the top 2 apps that deliver real results. So that was the episode before. And then the episode after was the Six-Figure Man versus Toxic Baby Mama Drama. One of the things that we did discuss in that last segment, there's a reason why I've been on a hiatus not too long, was because that particular episode did open up my eyes to a lot of things. A lot of things that I personally put a lot of work into myself, because in 2021 May, I went to Copper's Cove for a boys' weekend. And at the time, I was working at a nonprofit mental health clinic. And I wasn't making a lot of money. I took a really big pay cut in regards to just being able to get the experience I needed at that job to do the career I have now. Now I act as an internal consultant for a other nonprofit, but it's a foster care agency on a much grander scale. So to give you perspective on what I do outside of the podcast professionally, I do internal consulting for a foster care agency between Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and Missouri. And that means I have to help our foster care kids who have a Medicaid insurance, most of them have one, if not multiple, develop a contract here in the middle to the insurance company so that when we have our clinicians, like our therapists, marriage and family therapists, professional counselors, psychologists, we can give them those services. So the stuff that I do professionally is to never help myself. It's never about making a profit. It's about helping the kids. And I genuinely enjoy what I do now as opposed to before because I have a lot more freedom. And I'm not bound to a desk at an office in downtown Fort Worth because I can work from home, which is really what I enjoy doing because it allows me the freedom and flexibility to be able to, if I want to have lunch at said time, I can have lunch at said time instead of between having lunch Monday through Friday 12 to 1. Instead of having to get up at 7 o'clock, beat traffic, get there by 8, not be late, all that bullshit, I could just get up, do my workout in the morning, walk my dog, let my dog out. And having that freedom, autonomy, and flexibility really helps because it allows me, after I have everything settled, what do I want to give back to you guys? Now, while I was working at the clinic, I was running a career consulting business. And for those of you who don't know, if you go back to much of my older episodes, I would say like 2 or 3 years ago, I stopped making episodes, or I stopped making and uploading videos because I myself was going through a hard time and I needed to do work on myself personally, not professionally, but personally. I could help people get the job interview. I could help people write their curriculum vitae, their college entrance exam, their graduate entrance exam. I was a grad assistant at Tarleton State University. That is my alma mater for about a good 6 or 7 months. And then I had to join corporate medical healthcare administration, and that didn't go well until I got into the position that I am today. And with all that being said, a lot of people don't know that before I talked about more personal development and how to strengthen your intimacy and relationship with your partner, people don't know that until they actually look at that, my older videos, that I was doing something more business related. I was on LinkedIn, I was posting these videos, I made a 2-hour applicant to hired masterclass, I shared it free on Skillshare, I had it on Udemy for free. All I wanted was just to help people get a job during the recession. And it did take off for a minute, but I was spending too much money handling my taxes as opposed to the money coming in. So I decided to call it quits. I said, you know what, screw this. I should have incorporated. I should have just been a sole proprietor. And it's those business lessons that you learned. And it was very stressful for me. I was more stressed about running my business than I was about my 8 to 5 job. I know what I'm doing. I know how to do it. I've done it for so long. And with that hiatus, because I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder, I did my therapy. I remember at one point having an 8 to 5 job and a business. I needed to get particular medications done. I needed to worry about the 8 to 5, worry about the business, getting leads in, closing the leads, all this stuff. I've written 1, 2, 3 books. The first one was Who the Fuck Am I? A Perfectly Imperfect Guide to Discover Your Purpose and Scale Your Potential. I have that in paperback. You can look it down on the description. The second one was I Fucking Lost It, a memoir. I have it on Amazon KDP. And that one's just about how quick I got money before the clinic and then I just lost it. And I realized it was because I had an undiagnosed bipolar disorder. It was only after working in the clinic that I realized, I'm like, you know what? I have a lot of similarities to the people that are coming in for help. I need to go see if I need mental health help. And then the last one was Controlling Your Career Path, a no-nonsense guide to maximizing your profession. And that did relatively well. You could find all those on Amazon if you want to check it out. But the reason why I took a hiatus was because I needed to do work on myself. I can't come and give you the best content or the best deliverance of what I'm trying to preach or what I believe in if I myself am going through hell and I'm troubled with my own mental health of, you can make it seem like fake it till you make it. Nah, fuck that shit. I wanted to give you the most raw individual that I can. It's not to say that the stuff I delivered wasn't good. It was very good. The only problem is I was internally battling my mental health demons. So, moving on from there. What the last episode taught me, toxic baby mama drama versus a 6-figure man, is how do you date with a mental health disorder? That's the topic that we're going to talk about today. And if I lost my job in 2021 to 2023, let's say about March of this year, I still continue my therapy. I was working at FedEx and Amazon because I can only rely on my savings so much. I didn't have the business anymore. I wanted to get rid of it, just pay whatever I owed to the IRS, and then transform myself anew. And one of the biggest things that I talked with my therapist was, how do I tell my partner or the person that I plan to date that I have a disorder? And we had a lot of conflicting things, and she ended up getting knocked up, and then she had to take maternity leave, and she said, I know we've been patient client or therapist client for the past 3 years. I'm going to be on maternity leave for the next 3 months, and you can go to these other therapists, or you could just wait for me, right? Because she needs to take care of herself. I understood that. Since March 2023 of this year, I haven't been back to my therapy session, even though she said, hey, I'm coming back. I could do online sessions, in-person sessions. I always try to do in-person sessions, but if all else failed, I would do the online session. Even when I was at the mental health clinic, I would secure myself a secluded room to do my session, and then I would have to work like an extra hour because they were flexible with me doing that. Obviously, if psychologists and therapists, it would be very hypocritical for them to not give you the hour or 45 minutes you need to be with the therapist and just secure a room and then talk your shit try to figure out how to solve the next problem. But I'll tell you a lot of things that I've learned over my past 3 years of therapy. So I got my diagnosis, I want to say it was like January 16th, 2020. You could look this at one of my older episodes. I think it was the last Menfluential Media or Menfluential Conference with Alex Marino and Antonio Centeno. And I think it was somewhere, I got my diagnosis January, but I didn't release the video until February. I just kind of went down all this stuff. And I remember being there, and there was a panel full of men, and once I got my diagnosis, not only was I talking to other very well influential men, but one of the things that I did discuss was, I'm like, well, if you go to therapy and if you get your, you realize that you're not all there, how do you handle that with the business? Nevertheless, I kind of pivoted things instead of it being career consulting as opposed to how do you express mental health help in the workplace. Now, there are some corporations, they have a thing called Employee Assistance Program where under the corporation, they'll give you like 8 sessions under said program so you can get the help. It's like temporary help, and then you be on your way. Or you can get a therapist yourself, talk it with HR and talk it with your supervisor, say, hey, I need to get a therapist for XYZ, and they'll work with your schedule. Those are the kinds of things that I talked about. And I read a lot of mental health books. I read a couple of bipolar disorder books. One of them was, Am I Bipolar? Am I Waking Up? Another one was the memoir of An Unquiet Mind, I believe. It was the person who got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, the psychologist, and then she'd created a memoir of her personal experience as a psychologist and as a patient. And I learned with all that stuff, what did I need to do? Because I didn't want to be on lithium. I didn't want to be on Abilify. I didn't want to be on Zyprexa. And I had to do my own personal research. And I'll say this. I'm not giving you, if you're listening to this, I'm not giving you a one-all-fits-all. But there was a point where I was on like 1,000 milligrams of Depakote. I was on Trazodone. I was on Adderall. I was on Seroquel. And I want to say that was it. But I was close to like 1,500 milligrams of medication. And after being on that Depakote or Depakine, which is a anticonvulsant medication, but it's also used for, people with mental health disorders, I realized that it was going to fuck up my liver as opposed to drinking every day. I could drink every day and I would be fine, but if I take Depakote, it would fuck up my liver more. So I lost the weight. I was like 265, got down to 213. I didn't drink alcohol for like 74 days. During the COVID quarantine, I cut a lot of weight because I wanted to worry about myself and not, I know I have a liquor cabinet now, but that's much different because I have a very easy regimen on how to handle XYZ. And I read all these clinical trials, actual clinical trials about all the bipolar medications. And I found that, because I was originally on 200 milligrams of immediate release Seroquel, after reading all these clinical trials, I realized that the whole reason why they created the extended release, much like the Adderall extended release, was because it didn't sedate you in like 10 or 15 minutes. If I take, and I'm about, let's say, 250 pounds right now, if I take 200 milligrams of Seroquel, I'm going to be knocked out in 15 minutes because it sedates me. It's not like Ambien, it's not like Ativan, it's not like Xanax. No, it sedates you. It doesn't make you drowsy, it sedates you. And that's what I need to get to sleep. I know if I haven't taken it or if I haven't taken it. And the reason why is because when I was on Trazodone, that's to, help you get to sleep, which is an antidepressant. I stopped taking the Trazodone and I realized the main kicker was the Seroquel. And I did my own experimentation. I said, hey, to my psychiatrist, get me off this Depakote. I'm done. I'm not going to take it anymore. You could say take it. I'm not taking it. So no more 1,000 milligrams of Depakote. So then I just have the extended release of the Seroquel, because the problem was when I would take the immediate release, I would be sedated. If I take it at like 10 o'clock at night, I'm still sedated till 11 o'clock in the next morning. That's considering I have to get up, I have to shower, I have to drive. I'm driving literally sedated from my house to the clinic. It wasn't really, really good. So he put me on the extended release. And then I stopped taking the trazodone. I just stopped taking it cold turkey. I said, hey, I'm no longer taking the trazodone. And he said, well, you should be taking it. I'm like, no, it's the Seroquel. The Seroquel is doing what it needs to do. So I take myself off the trazodone. He agrees, all right, take yourself off the trazodone. At that point, I think I was taking 30 milligrams of Buspar, which is an anti-anxiety medication. It's not like Xanax or bars or anything like that. It's in its own category. Just this year, I stopped taking the Buspar, and I just take my Seroquel, 400 milligrams, extended release, and that's it. I'm good. And then I take my two 20 milligrams of Adderall. Right now, it's on a shortage, so sometimes I actually forget to take it, or I have to cut it in half into 10 milligrams to kind of extend that, because I don't know when I'm going to get my next dosage. But the thing is, when people talk about Adderall addiction, it pisses me off because I forget to take my Adderall and I still function perfectly fine. I know when I'm off it and I know when I'm off it. Even my friends can notice the distinction when I am on it or I'm off it. But it has no reflection on my ability to be a contributing member to society. So with all that being said and done, again, I'm not telling you you should take what I take. I'm just telling you what I take as what works for me, because it's not a one size fits all. I take 400 milligrams of extended release Seroquel, take it nightly, and then the other thing that I take when I remember it, if I remember it, are my 10 to 20 milligrams of Adderall twice a day. And I generally try to find a sweet spot. So when I wake up, I do my workout, drink my coffee, shower, and I find that sweet spot, I'll take it, and then I have 4 hours to be able to get all my work done. And I generally get it all done either way, but it does enhance my productivity because I'm much more focused. And then after that, sometimes I forget to take it, or because there's a shortage right now. Nevertheless, that is my routine. So moving on from there, Jacob's mom, and he said in the last episode, his mom is diagnosed bipolar. I'm talking about that, and we discussed this. If you look at her, she's what your typical bipolar 1 patient looks like. I've never met the woman, but I hear she's batshit crazy, and she's off the rail. Fine, whatever. But he also did acknowledge and respected the fact that I am still a contributing member to society. I do the podcast. I write books. I have my 8 to 5 job. He respects that, because dating with the disorder is not really a difficult thing to do if you don't lead with your disorder. So let's get into the nuggets of what we're going to talk about today. I really want to talk about that, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy what I have. So let me go ahead. Give me a second to get this set up. So I actually got this comment 4 months ago from at Danif, DANYF, 0.7109. And I hadn't made any kind of mental health videos for a long time, let's say 3 years. And that's why I was on a hiatus. And she said, I appreciate your channel a lot. I've just found it. I have suffered many times of depression. The first diagnosed episode was in 2015. After some sessions and tests, the psychiatrist told me that I had hypomania, and so she gave me a mood stabilizer beside the antidepressant. My depression got better, but my creativity was worse. My second episode of depression was diagnosed in 2021. I haven't really gotten better. Some weeks ago, I put attention about the fact that I was diagnosed with hypomania. Generally, hypomania is bipolar 2. And what distinguishes bipolar 2 from bipolar 1 is bipolar 1, for the most part, is if you are suffering from any kind of psychosis, auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations, delusions, anything psychotic, you're automatically diagnosed bipolar 1. That's where the tipping point is, the silver lining. Bipolar 2 is just you'll be up for 3 days straight, more or less, and then you'll die down, and that's it. But again, it's a very loose way to figure out, am I bipolar 1 or bipolar 2? I am not a clinician. I don't have the ability to diagnose anybody. This is just based on my personal experiences and other personal experience that people have given to me. If you suffer from hallucinations, auditory, visual, and delusions, meaning that if someone gives me this can and I believe that they poisoned it, even though they just opened it and they poisoned it, I believe the CIA is watching me, I believe aliens are real, believe all these things that could possibly not humanely be possible, you're probably diagnosed bipolar 1. So with that being said, she said, my second episode of depression was diagnosed in 2021. I haven't really gotten better. Some weeks ago, I put attention about the fact that I was diagnosed with hypomania. I researched and everything I found about was related to bipolar disorder 2. Even the mood stabilizer she gave me is used to treat bipolar disorder, so I think I have that. I talked to a psychologist some weeks ago, and he told me that it was possible that he required more time to make a proper diagnosis. I can't rest not knowing what I have. Naming the things help to accept and understand it. And my response to her was, truth be told, the more clarity I got on my bipolar diagnosis, the less I worried about it. In due time, it's easier to manage, so I'm glad it's helped you. I'm glad this video helped her. And this is my personal take on getting a diagnosis. I genuinely believe that if you want to get a solid diagnosis, you need to get a psychological evaluation done by a psychologist or a testing clinician. Once they give you a diagnosis, and my particular testing, and you can look at my other videos for more in-depth clarification, is I had to sit in a room for 8 hours. I did a personality test, an ADHD test. We did an interview about how I feel about things based on my clinical history. I did tests regarding anxiety, depression, tests regarding my recall memory, verbally or auditory, all this type of stuff. And long story short is, once I got the clarification from the psychologist, I got a more accurate reading with my psychiatrist for him to tell me, hey, these are the types of medications I advise you to take, X, Y, Z. And then I worked with my psychiatrist to, once I got me on medications and I figured out, and honestly, the fucked up part is it's a shotgun. You know, they're just going to blast you with medication, see which ones work. And I genuinely believe that you should do your due diligence and figure out which ones do or do not work for you. So that is my take on that. So with that being said, dating with the disorder was one of my biggest insecurities until I started dating again. Yes, when I had my disorder, before I got my disorder diagnosed, I was with a woman, and she was a very great woman. But when I had asked her, or when I had told her, hey, I thought my ADHD testing was supposed to be just an ADHD testing, they're doing a differential diagnosis of bipolar disorder, and her response was, where are we going to go eat? So I knew after that response that she was not ready to be able to handle dealing with a guy who gets diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Like, I already knew she was going to freak out, right? So I broke things off with her. Then I fooled around with somebody I shouldn't have fooled around with, and it cost me dearly. I won't go too much detail with that. And then after that, I worked with my therapist and narrowed down trying to work and not bring baggage to my next relationship. So I actually was celibate for 2021 of February to about April 2023 of this year. And I think I fooled around a little bit with a couple of women that just, it was like free pizza. So I said, okay, fuck it. So I'm just using it as an estimate. Somewhere between that, I did fool around. But for the most part, I was celibate. And most people are going to be like, well, that's not what celibacy means. I don't know, because I I can't tell you the date that I slept with this woman. If she offered me free pizza, I said, fuck it, I'm going to have free pizza. But for the most part, I was celibate. And April 2023, I met a girl named Amber. And this was another interesting thing. I've always been a dominant. I've always been into BDSM. I just didn't have that. Even with my woman that before I told her my differential of my testing, I was with BDSM with her. But going back to you is with this woman, I met her on Hinge and I wasn't getting much on Tinder, wasn't getting much on Bumble, but Hinge was doing really good for me. And I think if you look back at one of my later episodes of the podcast, I even said that we were at Free Play Arcade and she had told me, so what is this thing going on with your podcast? Because she ended up finding my podcast and she listened to an entire episode. I'm like, what's your question? She said, well, if you ever speak to me the way you speak about women on your podcast, I will kill you. I found that very funny. I said, so then why are we on this date if you believe that I'm as misogynistic or sexist or bigoted as you so proclaim? And she says, well, you're a very nice person in person. Still treated her with respect, still respected her boundaries. But one of the things that I learned from that was I really liked this girl. Like, she seemed to click off all the boxes. But she ended up calling it quits. She made it a short-term relationship. And after that, I went on multiple dates afterwards. And I did sleep with women afterwards. But one of the things that I learned was I didn't tell her my disorder on the first date. I needed to make sure that even though as I was in security at that time, April 2023 of this year, I can't just tell her all my fucked up things. I just have to enjoy her presence and let her know that I'm a contributing member to society and that she doesn't have to worry about my mental health. Only after the fact, I remember it was Cinco de Mayo. I came back Sunday and I spent the night at her house. Nothing happened. I didn't have sex with this woman or anything. And I look on her desk and she has a whole bunch of medications on there. And one of the medications I was very familiar with because I was on it when I shouldn't have been on it. It was Effexor. And Effexor is a fucked up medication. It's an SNRI. You can look it up yourself. And if you give that to somebody who has bipolar depression, not singular depression, it's going to fuck you up and it's going to make you manic, right? The whole thing about bipolar depression, manic depression, is it makes you manic, right? It activates the receptors in your brain to make you manic, to undergo mania. She also smoked a lot of weed, but I didn't care because she was 30 years old. She had a great profession. She was an elementary teacher. She had her master's degree, and she did this like professional development stuff on the side. She had her professional life on lockdown, but I know that she had a lot of anxiety behind that. She didn't solve her problems. For whatever reason that she's anxious or depressed, she didn't solve this. So when it comes to dating with a disorder, this is what I've learned dating women who have openly told me about all the shit that they have been through. And this is not to say that it bothers me, because I'm a very kind person. If you don't believe that, go fuck yourself. But I'm a very kind person. I'm a very listening person. I'm going to be there for you, man or woman. I love women, of course, but like if my homies come to me and tell me they're depressed, I'm going to be the person, give me your ear. I'm here for you. So what I learned after that, because I really liked this girl, she called things off, and even my friends were like, oh, you talk so much about this girl. And it's the reason why I am now a man of abundance. Even with my current girls that I have now, they know that if they leave me, they have 72 hours to come back to me, or I'm going to be inside another woman. They know that. I had a woman on my phone on Facebook, and you're going to laugh at this. She said, the hell, her name's Amelia Olivia, and she's from San Francisco, California, right? She says, hello, and I respond, are you okay? Good evening. You didn't answer my question. Yes, I'm okay. Cool, clear. How are you doing today? Good as always. Nothing I can't take care of. My name is Olivia. What is your name? Could have been a bot, but I don't know. But I have all these inboxes in my Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. She says, I'm 30 years old. How old are you? I said, if we're friends on Facebook, it'll tell you. She says, can we know each other more? And I respond with, what do you mean? I mean, can we know each other more? And I responded with, I'm married, dear. She said, okay, good night. I responded with the thumbs up. Could have been a bot. Could have been catfish. Fine, whatever. I don't care. But I get those messages all the time. Some of them may be bots. Some of them may be real people. I don't know. It's not my thing, right? A woman sliding into my DMs, I don't find that very attractive. Nevertheless, even my current girlfriends know that if they leave me, they have 72 hours to come back to me. My girlfriends are by no way, even based on my BDSM lifestyle, they are no way indebted to me. They can leave me at any time. I don't have a gun into their head and saying that you have to stay with me. I don't beat them. I don't treat them wrong. I'm always a gentleman. I open the door for them. I pay the tab. They don't have to worry about it. But with that being said, after that one woman, because I didn't date for a long time, and I only told her after the fact, and then she called things off, whether it was because of my disorder or other personal things, I don't know. I did date a couple of women, did have sex with other women, and dating with the disorder is not that hard as you think. Dating with the disorder is acknowledging you have a disorder, but your disorder doesn't define you. And there was a YouTube channel, I believe it's called Living with Schizoaffective Disorder. Living with Schizophrenia. It's called Living Well with Schizophrenia. And there's this girl, she has like 267,000 subscribers. And her name is Lauren, and she's living with schizophrenia / schizoaffective disorder, which is much more extreme than bipolar disorder, although it's already extreme. But she has like she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But what I've learned taking dates with women, and I could tell you it was Josie, Lauren, Jamie, Samantha, Caitlin, and a few other ones that I can't remember. I didn't lead with the first date, hey, I have bipolar disorder, I have this problem, I did therapy, all this shit. I'd lead with what I'm doing in my professional life, in my personal life. I do jiu-jitsu, I have a podcast, and I have an 8-to-5 job. And then I let them tell me about their stuff. I had women tell me that they had been molested. I had women tell me that they're type 1 diabetic. Oh, I think another one was, fuck was her name? Amber, maybe? Was it another Amber? Can't think. Let me think. No. Dawn. It's her fucking name. And I remember being on a date with Dawn, and she's telling me she has this problem. She lives with her parents. She broke her ankle. She used to work at Starbucks. And I remember when we would text, and I'm not much of a big texter, but a woman who texts me all day, every day about her problems, and she's only giving me problems and no solutions. She's jobless, all this shit. It's a turnoff for me, because then I have to come home and deal with this. And I never did anything intimate with most of those women other than like one of them. But when you lead with, I have done XYZ, or I have gone through XYZ, or I have experienced XYZ trauma or anything like that, it's a turnoff for men. And I'm talking from my personal experience. Like even with my current main chick, she didn't know that I had bipolar disorder until one of the nights that she spent at my house that I was taking my nightly medication. She just asked. She's like, what are you taking? I'm like, oh, I'm taking my bipolar meds. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I have bipolar disorder. She's like, you didn't tell me that. I'm like, well, it's not a big deal. Like, I'm not in a psychiatric hospital. I'm not institutionalized. I've never been institutionalized. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, don't freak out about it. Like, I have bipolar disorder. Okay, whatever, fuck it. When you don't make it a big deal, it makes dating easier. But when you lead with all the problems and traumas that you've experienced and encountered, and I say this man or woman, it makes dating difficult because you're trying to give them all negatives to get a positive reaction. But that doesn't set up a healthy relationship. It sends up a codependent relationship, meaning that the person that you're dating is codependent on you, or you're codependent on them for their love, their affection. I've been with women who I was codependent with, like they knew how to get inside my head because they knew that, well, if you leave me, who's going to take you because you're batshit crazy, right? And that's why I did a lot of work on myself, was because, no, with or without the disorder, I'm still going to be Christian Grey. There's no doubt about that. I'm not doing anything that I wouldn't do differently because I have my mental health in check. Now, people say, I'm like, oh, well, you're the crazy one, you're the live one, you're the eccentric one. I'm like, well, I've always been that way. The only thing is it's much more tame now because I sleep and I go to sleep and I take my medications. I'm not going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But if you're currently experiencing trouble dating or getting back into dating, you shouldn't be leading with your disorders because you're turning people off. Because if you get in a relationship with that person, you're using their healthy mental health, and you're going to suck them down with you because you don't have the ability to keep your shit in check. Man or woman, I don't care. What pisses me off more than anything is when people say, I have schizophrenia or schizoaffective or bipolar disorder or depression or anxiety. That's bullshit. It's absolute fucking bullshit. I cannot stand people who use the disorder as an excuse. You have no reason to be excused from being a contributing member to society. You should say, okay, I have this. Whether I can or cannot control it, if a medication allows me to tame things and still be contributing member to society, be a fucking contributing member to society. Contribute to society. The world does not care that you're depressed or anxious or psychotic. You have to keep that shit in check. If you want somebody else to accept you and be coexisting, not codependent, coexisting. If you want to have a solid integration with somebody else, that shouldn't be your thing of, oh, I'm bipolar or I'm anxious or I'm depressed and so you may experience this. No, it's fucking bullshit. It pisses me off more than anything. And I don't get pissed out at a lot of things. There are very few things that piss me off, and that's the one thing. Oh, I'm depressed. The world doesn't care. Might as well get up and do it. I remember when I was going through my depression and I was losing my weight because I was overweight because I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing jiu-jitsu. I wasn't lifting or doing jump rope or anything like that. My body physically hurt because I was so depressed. It physically hurt more than soreness, more than tweaks in my muscles and my bones or anything like that. It was only until a while ago that I found out that I had scoliosis and spina bifida. Not because I chose to have it, but because I'm a premature baby. I was born at 7 months old, so my body wasn't finished fucking conforming. And you know what? I could be braced up. I could be taking Percocet or hydrocodone, or I could be taking Xanax for my anxiety. No. Believe it or not, I used to have a lot of social anxiety. Now, because I developed my confidence in my profession and in my fitness and in my philosophy and in my friends, I give two fucks. I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious anymore. What am I supposed to be anxious? Bills aren't supposed to be paid. I have a job and it pays the bills. I do a podcast. You guys who are my affiliate commissions that say, hey, I like what this guy stands for. Let me give him a little bit of money. Dude, like, why am I supposed to be freaking the fuck out about money? If you're not making money, make more money or find a way or a side hustle to do it. That's it. That's all you got to do. There's nothing there for you to be like, I'm traumatized, so you have to accept me traumatized. And this is not to be, it's never my intention to slander somebody or, defame anybody. But there's this particular person that I saw, I think it was on Med Circle, and I believe her name is Sammy Grimm. Sammy Marie, life and mindset coach for borderline personality disorder. She's a personal coach, founder of Don't Call Me Crazy coaching program. She's an author, a poet, but she's also an OnlyFans thought. And I know people in my family that they have the disorder, and it's the same disorder axis where it's narcissism personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and borderline personality disorder. And borderline personality disorder is commonly misconstrued for bipolar disorder. It's massively different. You can have both. One's based on genetics and mania. The other one's based on your personality yourself. Borderline personality disorder, which is most prominent in women who are traumatized, however they're traumatized, sexually or verbally or emotionally. Unfortunately, it's more prominent in women. And narcissistic personality disorder is more prominent in men, because men react to anger, so they try to be glib and they try to be they're self-centered, they're glib, it's all about themselves. And I could wholeheartedly tell you that if I didn't keep my mental health in check, I'd so totally be a narcissist, maybe a sociopath, what you call it. Not to say that I'm proud of it or anything like that from the fucked up shit that I've done in my past, but I could tell you that if I didn't do the therapy that I needed and actually listen to my therapist, I'd probably be on one of those axis personality disorders on top of the other shit that I already have. But no, I want to be a contributing member to society. I'm not apathetic. I can give empathy and sympathy, but it depends on the individual if they have their shit in check. And one of the things that gets me very upset, and I get it, this girl, Sammy Grimm, she wants to help women with borderline personality disorder. The caveat to women who have borderline personality disorder is, in essence, is you're walking on eggshells. I hate you, but don't leave me. It's such a conundrum that it's really hard for them. They'll do all good things and they'll lead it with, like, if they do 5 good things, they'll lead it with 10 bad things, or vice versa. And I know women in my family who I'm very suspecting they have BPD. But one of the things that really bothers me is that, hey, I have BPD, so you should accept me. If you have a personality disorder, and this people are going to say that I'm being very triggered. I'm not triggered. I'm more to the fact that you have to keep your shit in check. I can't express that enough. Because I've met some really crazy people in my life when I was working at the clinic. And they'll say, I need help, I want the help, but they never actually get the help. They'll do the first session or second session and then they're done. No, therapy is not a one fix all. And any kind of antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication or antipsychotic medication, it's not a one size fits all. You still have to be able to put in the work mentally, spiritually, emotionally, to be able to say, okay, I'm done through this. How do I get this? Because I'll tell you what, if I was with any one of my main chicks or side chicks, and I was a person I was before 2020 or 2021, that wouldn't have lasted by any way, shapes, means, or forms. Now, because I'm so concrete in my mental health that I can cognizantly say, do I want to be with this woman or I don't want to be with this woman? Can I make this rational decision professionally or can I not make this rational decision professionally? If I didn't have that ability to do that, I would respect them for leaving me. They should have no reason to be with me at all whatsoever. I've never leaded with, I have bipolar disorder. I only let them know after 3, 4, 5, 6 dates down the road, and they just find out because I take my medication at night. They're like, what are you taking? I'm like, oh, it's my bipolar meds, but don't worry about it. That's it. Keep your shit in. Dating with the disorder is not hard if you don't lead with it on the first date. The second date, you kind of let them know. Third date, let them know. But the minute that you're intimate with somebody and then they just find out afterwards, then it just looks bad on the other person if they want to let you go. And that's fine. Let them go. If they don't want to deal with that because they have some batshit crazy sister, brother, uncle, cousin, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, let them go. That's fine. I respect them. I respect any woman that has dated me once they find out that I have bipolar disorder to leave me. I'll respect it. That's fine. I get that. But because you don't see me being institutionalized or going to some psychiatric hospital for 7 days on end and leave all my responsibilities at home, they have no reason to worry. I wake up, I do my job, I do jujitsu, I run, I train. That's it. I take my medication, go to sleep, new day begins. That's it. That's it. It's not that hard dating with a disorder. It really isn't. You think that in this episode I was going to give you some crazy magical solution. There's not. Put your shit in check. Go get your mental health help. If you're not satisfied with your body, go, run, lift, whatever, train. That's it. If you have no money, there are people in prison who have no money and they still find a way to train. And I'll say this. One of the things that I learned when I was taking my medication was that it was supposed to cause weight gain. The only reason why it causes weight gain is because you're sedated and you don't have the energy to lift. It's actually a good thing that you're sedated, because I have found my best workouts are the workouts that I didn't want to do when I was most sedated, when I was most tired, when I was most depressed, when I was most anxious. After my workout, I feel like a fucking top G. I feel awesome. I feel great. I feel good. Blood is pumping. Got a good pump in. Got a good run in. Got a good lift in. You have to do it regardless. If you take away all disorders and you had to hunt for your food, you have to be like tribesmen in Africa. Well, if I don't hunt anything, if I don't kill anything, then we're not eating. You got to do it anyway. You think those motherfuckers in Africa or a third world country are worried about depression or anxiety? No, their depression or anxiety is, I didn't catch anything to kill today, or I didn't kill anything to eat today. That's what they're worried about. And they'll go days on end fasting or whatever. And that's what I found that works for me. I fast majority of the day. I'll have my protein shake, have my coffee, drink carbonated water, drink more water. I'll train, I'll run. Then after I've already done all that training, then I'll eat. That's it. It's not that hard. There's no easy solution to dating with the disorder. Like, you have to put yourself in check and keep it in check and take your medication. If it works for you and you feel better, it's because that's what the medication is supposed to be doing. I have a training partner. His name's Mike, that I do jiu-jitsu with. And he is a psychiatric nurse. And he wants to do, I think he's going to school for like master's degree in advanced practitioner registered nurse for like psychiatric stuff, right? So he wants to be able to administer medication, which is kind of like a PA or a MDDO. And I remember I told him, like, oh yeah, dude, I understand what you're going through. Like, patients, what's the first thing that you ask them? When's the last time you went to sleep? Oh, it was like 3-4 days ago. They stopped taking their medication. Take your fucking medication. Put the work in yourself. Go get therapy. There's a whole bunch of free clinics, community mental health centers, so you can get the therapy that you need for free or anything like that, or at least at a discounted rate. Go get your fucking help. It's not that hard. You have to take initiative to do that. Most people who are depressed is because they're overweight. Most people who are anxious is because they're not making enough money, or they're not maximizing themselves, their profession, to their true potential. That's the fucking problem. Now, there are exceptions to the rule that if you have like severe autism or severe Down syndrome or severe mental retardation, but I could tell you, my sibling, love her to death. Although she has the odds stacked against her, she's a manager at a fast food restaurant chain. And I'll tell you what, I am super proud of her. She's not like me, medicated, right? But I'll tell you what, I am super proud of her. Because all the odds stacked against her, she said, fuck it. Like, she was on that fucking government assistance bullshit. And she hated it. She told me that. And then when she was like, I want to go back to school and I want to be an attorney. I want to be a paralegal. She got her paralegal certificate. I was so happy for her. And she's been one of my biggest supporters, and I've been one of her biggest supporters to this day. And I could say that wholeheartedly. So if you're saying, oh, like it's trouble dating with disorder, put yourself in check. Get the help you need. There's no magic button. You have to put in the work. And if you think after 1 or 2 therapy sessions is going to solve it, no. You got to keep on. You have to make that a priority. If you make booze or drugs your priority, or cigarettes or cigars or anything like that. Make that your priority and put everything else second. And then whatever you have left, do that with your own vices. But put yourself as a priority. You only get one body. That's it. And if you're like, oh, well, I want to, unalive myself, it's bullshit. It's too fucking easy. I've been there. I've had my suicidal ideations, but I never wrote a plan. Never. Not once. Why? It's too fucking easy. You're taking the easy way out. Don't be a coward. So, I hope you guys got I hope you guys and girls got a lot out of this episode. Because having a mental health disorder was one of the things I used to be insecure about. Now, because I have my shit in check, I'm not insecure about it. I let them know afterwards. Don't lead with that, man. It's not going to benefit anybody. Nor is it going to benefit you. You're just going to be repelling people away. And if someone does accept you with that because you lead with that, that's probably not going to be a very good relationship. None of the relationships I have are toxic. All this toxic femininity or masculinity, I'm not toxic. I let them know straight up the type of man that I am. Minus the disorder, of course. But I let them know that I'm like, I have women that want to sleep with me. I can sleep with any women. If I go to a bar and I'm vibing, women naturally just come up to me. If you can handle that, that's fine. If you can't, I completely respect that. But they will never see me. Not one person will see me down and out saying, oh, I didn't take my medication, I'm out. No, absolutely fucking not. I have to keep myself in check, and I will always keep myself. It's my responsibility. So you need to make that your responsibility, to keep yourself in check. Now, there will be times where you get to a very low point. But I'll tell you this, even when I've been on one of my crazy binges or anything like that, I know exactly what I have to do to make sure I can reset myself. So, I hope you got a lot out of this video. If you needed some motivation, bullshit, there's nothing motivating about dating with a disorder. You have it. You can't control it. Fine, whatever. But you keep that in check. And I will repeat that till the day I die. Keep yourself in check. Another person should not have to take responsibility of your own fucking actions. Those are your fucking actions. Although you couldn't control getting said disorder, you can control how you respond and react to it. You can do that. That is your responsibility. That is your accountability. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. You already know where you can find me. You can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me. If you give me this long post saying that you're going through XYZ with XYZ, I'm going to respond once I get to it. I'm not that type of fucking content creator. Like, I'll respond to it. There's nobody else handling it. It's just me. And if you have a story that you want to share, please, by all means, share it. Like, that's the whole point. Like, not alone. Like, I've had people in my Facebook Messenger after I've released certain videos, and they're like, how do you do it? Also, you know what? And I'll have a 20-minute to 2-hour conversation with them at 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, even though I have work the next day. Because I don't want people to ever feel that they're alone. Because you're not alone. Being around people that make you feel alone and being alone are two different things. Think about that. Until next time, guys, exercise with caution, exercise with care, stay tuned, and see you later.